Welcome to the Authentic Action Podcast, brought to you by Gal Media, Fun Fast Productions, and the Authentic Action School online. I'm your host, Angel, and I'm here to examine some of our social constructs, expose our biases, and offer unique and diverse perspectives on living a good life. My intention with the Authentic Action Podcast is to explore diverse perspectives of what it means to live a good life and to inspire, educate, and motivate you to design and live a life that you love. I will be interviewing and conversing with outstanding creators, artists, activists, actors, authors, poets, performers, musicians, movers, shakers, builders, teachers, preachers, healers, entrepreneurs, explorers, seekers, and speakers who are deliberately designing and living lives that they love. I hope the show will expand your personal awareness, introduce diverse perspectives to you, and perhaps prepave new neural pathways to unimagined opportunities. So grab your favorite beverage, let's get comfy and dive into it. In today's episode of the Authentic Action Podcast, I'm speaking with the warm-hearted, pioneering spirit, artist and author of Heart Meditations, Conscious Community Building. This mother of three is pushing into new spaces and frontiers of community building with her vision to build a thriving heart community and art studio aimed at providing an inviting space for the autism community to create, connect, and support one another. A year ago, she moved herself and her son Liam up to Wisconsin and began preparing to open an art studio designed and operated specifically for people with autism and their families. She's passionate about therapeutic play and dance therapy and loves making new things out of old things. I'm happy to introduce you to my friend, Autumn Grace Manzo. And welcome, Autumn, to the Authentic Action Podcast. Excited to hear from you more about what you're passionate about talking about, really, as far as where you're at in your own life, your hopes for the future. And I know you've told me that you kind of want to talk about how autism, having a son with autism, has really influenced where you currently are. So tell me
Yes.
more about that.
Thank you, Angel. I am so glad to be here. And yeah, I definitely feel like autism is a part of our world nowadays, and it gives us many opportunities to explore deeper meaning, deeper spirituality, deeper ways of connecting with human beings. Um, because all the models that we have all of a sudden don't work when you have a child that's developing very differently. And I learned early on that being creative and open and willing to really grow myself was going to be the way I was going to approach um, autism in our family and in my life. So yeah, just to give a little background, when you get a child, when you have a child, they're developing differently, and the first thing is this judgment that different is bad, because everyone is looking for their child to reach those milestones. I'm sure
Yeah,
you remember with your son,
yeah.
you want walking or talking and crawling, and it's a devastation when that child isn't babbling at 12 months old like all their peers.
Yeah, I think most parents have a little, like something that worries them, but I can only imagine how stressful it probably is to have a sequence of those milestones.
Yeah, and then your child just starts more and more not meeting the milestones and appearing to be very delayed. And your mind goes into all these worries of what this means,
Mm-hmm.
and at that time my sister actually worked with autistic kids. I was actually around a lot of autistic kids when I would visit her. And so of course my mind went to these very severely challenged young men and women she worked with that didn't speak and weren't toilet trained and weren't engaging, were in settings all day just to learn how to put a shape sorter together, and she'd tell me stories like that. And so of course with my limited experience with autism, that was all this fear based, like my son's in the background, fear based of worst case scenario and what this meant. And I remember my son was 15 months old, and I was going to get him evaluated by Help Me Grow the next day. And at that point, I was a pretty devout Christian, and I just laid down next to his crib. He had fallen asleep. He was doing this thing where he would roll and roll and roll until he would fall asleep, even after I nursed him. And he fell asleep, and I'm just watching him. And I just kind of broke down crying, saying, God, I do not want this journey. I do not want this.
Right.
Like feeling that resistance. But there was a song that came to my mind as I was saying, like, I don't want to walk this. It's this song from a blind Christian artist, actually. Her name is Ginny Owens. And she talks about, I will walk through the valley. I will go through the valley if you want me to. And I remember in that moment kind of like having a little bit of a surrender to autism, being really broken and feeling like, okay, God, but if you want me to walk this, I will, with my son. And so, gosh, I changed so much from just that, going through the different emotions, the devastation. And I had a daughter at the time, I still do, 2 years older than my son, and just trying to juggle this neurotypical world and the extra attention and things my son needed. But we did find a play program that was really about connecting with your child. It was called the Sunrise Program. And really the premise of it was about a boy who had actually recovered from autism when his parents engaged in him this way very intensely at a very young age. So, and his name is Ron Kaufman. And his parents, Bears and Samaria Kaufman, run the Autism Treatment Center America out of Massachusetts. And you can go there for trainings. And they're all about, the whole premise of everything they teach there is belief, stimulus, response. And it is examining your beliefs and not just looking at how you're responding to a situation and saying, oh, autism made me upset. No, it was my beliefs about autism that are causing this discomfort. And what an approach to really go back internally, personal development, start examining my beliefs, and to see how I could believe differently. And I didn't at that point even know I could believe differently until I started, like I said, I was a devout Christian.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt like my beliefs were just part of, I don't want to say like they didn't feel like I chose them, but like they felt like that was part of faith. And I chose that faith. So here came this, all these beliefs just came with this. And you just believe all this stuff, right? Because you're supposed to.
Yeah.
But you actually looked and examined some of the beliefs. I might choose not to believe them or whatever. And so it definitely was a challenge to figure out, what do I really believe? What do I want to believe about autism? And I remember being in the shower one day and really just having this profound sense that autism was neutral. Like it was a neutral thing. It's just the way my son is. And how I respond is completely my choice. Right. And so my response could make it a positive thing in my life and an ongoing, like it was going to be, my son wasn't like some children, my son wasn't overcoming his symptoms really quickly. And so even then in the autism world, you start comparing your child then to other autistic kids. It's funny, the comparison game, right?
Yeah.
So first your child isn't so typical, and now they're very autistic. Now they're severe. And then you have all emotions about that. But I decided really to just see the best possible scenario for my son, and to love him just as he was, and to see him as a gift.
Yeah.
And realize that my life was going to be very different than I had planned. I think we all have those moments where we think life's going to be a certain way, and then bam, it's not.
Yeah.
You're thrown that curveball. So what do you do is the question. And I decided, I was going to grow myself and grow with my son. So we were going to grow together as more loving, authentic people. And I found a network of other parents that had we kind of all, it's interesting, many of us kind of graduated from the Sunrise program into another program called Natural Play Therapy. And it was just a little bit more lifestyle-ish, a little bit more flexible than the Sunrise program, a little bit more encompassing. And we all started supporting each other. And then even in that group, a lot of us started expanding into the spelling to communicate world. And some of our kids weren't talking, but we still had this feeling and the sense they were intelligent, they had things to share. And so it's like we all started growing together, and then we all kind of got into the same kind of modalities, and then we all started seeing our kids, and we're in that realm right now. We're seeing our kids progress and be able to express themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're catapulted into new realms where we see adults that are already expressing themselves and sharing blogs, and it's so exciting to realize, like, you didn't, like, what I thought in the beginning, like my child wasn't going to have a future or a life, or didn't have thoughts, maybe even. What a relief. Like, no, he just needs different support to live and to express himself, and to help his body gain motor control and feel himself in space and everything like that. And so it really, yeah. And so that too, I know, I've written a book called Heart Work Meditations Unconscious Community. One of the reasons why these ideas were coming to me of like the finite world and the infinite world and a dance between the two is because I was daily witnessing my son in like two worlds. He had like the body world where his body is a lot of out of control. I have to help him be safe, not hang upside down, not want to eat all the bad food. Mm-hmm. But then when we're sitting and we're doing a lesson and he's expressing his thoughts, he's got this intelligent mind world that's in there, and so there's this brain body disconnect, but there's a dance between the both. And if I ignore his body needs, or if I ignore his cognitive needs, both of them would get me in a imbalanced state with him. So it's been, kind of like living in that dual world has helped me see life in a very dual sense and make peace with it being dual. Like, it's okay to grieve and be joyous about autism.
Yeah.
It's okay to celebrate my kid's successes while still feeling a little sad that he's not in a school setting or he's not with a group of peers. And just to allow, a lot of allowance. Talk about, that's what autism is for me. Autism equals allowance. Allowing a child to be who they are. And as you do that, guess what happens? You start allowing yourself. As you practice something with other people, you start allowing yourself to be just as you are. Mm-hmm. And you and I met through the Kyle Cease Absolutely Everything community, an online community where author and speaker Kyle Cease helps us to embrace the moment and everything that we feel, so that we can access who we truly are underneath it all. Mm-hmm. And I think that's been the theme of life. And I had lots of religious beliefs in my life, since I was 19 years old. And what I finally now here at 41 is I realize that I am the believer. I'm not any of these beliefs that I adopt. I'm the believer who believes what I believe today. And if those beliefs don't really work, or we examine, you and I always examine our beliefs together so frequently. If those don't fit anymore, we're free to release them
Yeah.
and
Change your
adopt
mind.
new beliefs.
Yeah.
Change, literally.
Yeah.
That's what it means to change your mind.
Yeah.
You change belief.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you start practicing that, like that is a form of neurodiversity to me. Is a person who is able to not be rigid, not be stuck in one mindset, but be able to be fluid and go with the flow when life changes, throws you curveballs. You know, a lot of I want to give an example just of
Mm-hmm.
parents who Christian parents who are so their whole life they believe that homosexuality is a sin or is wrong.
Yeah.
But then they have a child that is gay and they're given that opportunity to really re-examine that belief.
Yeah.
And I know parents that have been like, yeah, once it was in my life, I was able to re-examine that and realize it wasn't a useful belief to continue
Mm-hmm.
to hold on to. And I think it's a beautiful thing that we don't ever have to be stuck in how we were, you know, in the
Yeah.
past.
Yeah. Me too. I agree. Yeah. So I have a 3 questions question for the end, but I feel like asking it now, which is just if you had uh, only 3 things that you could share with the world about autism that you wish people knew, what would those be off the cuff?
First is the outside does not match the inside.
Mm-hmm.
So just because a child looks or a person, they're not engaging with you, they're not looking at you, doesn't mean they're not listening or using other senses to really experience you. So it's important to share yourself, you know, with people who have autism as if they're, you know, presumed competent is the word we like to use, that they're capable of
Mm-hmm.
knowing you, of hearing what you have to say, of understanding you. And if someone does feel like they're locked in their body, it's probably a really awesome gift to have someone sharing with you when you can't necessarily reciprocate
Mm-hmm.
the social cues that we're so used to. So I would say, yeah, the first thing is recognize that social cues might be different, but still reach out. And okay, so I'm supposed to say 3 things.
Yes. So the first is the outside doesn't match the inside necessarily, right?
Yeah.
To make contact, reach out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Number 2 is for parents. Um, you're on a lifelong journey with a lot of times with your child, with your children in general. With a
Yeah.
child with autism, it's a long journey because it's not just when they turn 18 and they might have challenges that perpetuate into adulthood. So your health matters, your mental stability matters. Um, you're you're running a marathon, not a sprint. So you need a social network, take care of yourself. Caregiver burnout is a real problem, a
Mm-hmm.
real issue that we deal with. So yeah, so recognize it can be a long journey and you need support.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing I really believe this, that autism is here to help shift the consciousness of humanity. And you know, as I've allowed my own consciousness to shift and I've recognized this, I feel more and more um, you know, I'm more and more confident to share that these kids they're here for a reason. We want to look and say, oh, they were injured by toxins or vaccines, or we don't know why they're autistic. Well, guess what? You don't have to know. You don't need to know why.
Yeah.
They're here. What is the opportunity? They are here, and most of the time, you're in the presence of what feels like pure love, pure unconditional love. A lot of times I always thought my son, like, he doesn't care what others think about him, and how much that helped free me because he's just himself. He doesn't
Yeah.
have that social like he can't be anybody but Liam and do what feels right in the moment. And he's so present, with his environment, interacting.
Mm-hmm.
He's not worried about the future. He's not thinking about the past. He is so present. And so he really ushers me into that kind of being myself. And a lot of times, if a lot of people who work with autistic kids or adults, they're drawn to them. There's something so magical about the simplicity of being in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, yeah, recognizing it's a shift in consciousness and embracing that. And we all know shifts in consciousness are not easy to endure. It's almost like a caterpillar becoming a butterfly has to become a big soup of goop before it becomes that butterfly. So that's why that support system is so important there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say those are my three.
Cool. Those are good. I want to talk more about kind of when you mention your second one of it being a long journey and needing to take care of yourself, and then followed by how you think it's really just part of our shift in consciousness and not necessarily a problem or something that need to be fixed. When I say it, I'm meaning autism and our increasing tendency to have that in our lives. It occurs to me when you talk about needing to take care of yourself because it's a long journey, that's like a beautiful thing that we all, like all parents would be good, not just parents, but people, if we all had a reason or understood that it's important to take better care of ourselves, then that would only make a more beautiful world, right? And I think also, I've been struck many times by children and adults that I know with autism, how they do seem to, like you were talking about, have this presence, this in the moment, this non-conformity, this aspect that forces you to meet them in the here and now as their authentic self without all these preconceived notions. And you and I have talked about that open mindset and how Liam in your life has really led you to shift your whole belief system and your mindset toward being more open to all kinds of people and scenarios and less judgmental at large, I want to say. So do you want to talk more about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. Like, I think a lot of times we find safety in our belief systems, and depending on how we were raised or what in the moment kind of really took us in. Like when I was in college, I was new and experiencing all these changes, and a group of Christian friends really took me in and started taking me to church and spending time with me. And so it was easy to like adopt those beliefs. It was such a space of safety
Mm-hmm.
for me. And so those beliefs were always like this like safe haven um, for me until they became more not feeling safe or feeling limiting or um, just feeling like there was something missing. Like
Mm-hmm.
this can't be all to life. Um, and I just remember really like just this idea of like right and wrong in the Christian worldview. There's
Mm-hmm.
many religions. The Western religions have a lot of like right and wrong. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you want to do right. You want to go away from wrong. But then I would notice like some of the wrong choices I made in my life were so beautiful and
Yeah.
resulted in such like wonderful things. So I was trying to reconcile like, well, how can something be wrong, but then it's like used for good? And you know, where's the line? What is this right and wrong thing? And I think, as I really explored what I believe truth is, um, and you have a book on this,
Yeah.
40 like there are so many truths. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's an infinite world.
Mm-hmm.
And we are the humility that it takes to realize like your belief system might not be the only one out there. Like that other person that grew up across the world in that Chinese setting and believes in this different way, they might have something to offer you that really would help your life. And
Mm-hmm.
you might have something to offer them. And if you guys weren't so stuck in your mindset, our world might not be at war so
Mm-hmm.
much. And I think unity, like this just conscious awareness of unity, um, when you drop right and wrong, you're just human again. I mean, in my mind,
Yeah.
making the best choices you can from what you know in the moment. And when you know differently, you make different choices.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you have to label them anymore. We like to use the word, this is aligned for me, or this feels true to me,
Yeah.
as opposed to this is, you know, and I think it's a much more personal level where there's also this safety in certain belief systems. Instead of saying, well, this is true for me, this is true for everybody. This is true for the whole world. Well, so that feels safe in some ways when you can say that. But is it really true? Sometimes you can have a false security. Something that's true for you is not necessarily true for someone who doesn't believe it. So
Yeah.
definitely the power, our belief puts that power, right? It's the
Mm-hmm.
power of the belief into the truth, and it makes things true for our life. It creates our reality. And
Yeah.
I saw that happen. Like the more positive I was with my son, he interacted more. He wanted to be with us. He slept more. We made better memories. We felt better together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so definitely bringing that full circle, caring for yourself is sometimes recognizing when your beliefs don't fit you anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe that's why you're feeling dissonant, and just examining, just having that reflective lifestyle where you examine your beliefs, and discard the ones that don't fit, and do it confidently, and don't let anyone in your life tell you what to believe, that you are your own autonomous being that gets to choose what you believe.
Yeah. I agree.
He's
So
happy.
tell me a little more about Thriving Heart Studios and Thriving Heart Acres, if you
All
want to
right.
talk
So,
about
so
that a
yes.
little.
So one of my goals with my son, I I realized like the world, is not necessarily created right now for autistic adults as they grow up. There's not, plethora of places to employ or for adults with autism to develop their passions. There are more and more, which is awesome. But a
Mm-hmm.
lot of it is parents taking the initiative, because we've got that motivation. We don't want our kids just sitting at home, watching TV all day. We want our kids doing something impacting the world. And so the idea came to me, to open an art studio and to have that be a place that Liam can help run and engage with others. And I want it to be a place that's mainly for the autistic population. So it's going to be sensory friendly and small group settings.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to involve peers and friends so that it's a unity. It's not just the autistic, but I want them to know that this is a special place for you. You're the reason why this exists.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's mainly made with that purpose in mind. And the idea is really a lot of this is going to be an environmental kind of movement, to take things in the world, um, that could be recyclable, perhaps
Mm-hmm.
plastics, glass, metals, let's see, um, and cardboard, and repurpose it, create it into something. One of my goals is to have us make like masterpieces that are community pieces that we all work on throughout a season, and then we can share it. And so it's this collective artwork of the beauty of autism and those moments we share together in this studio, connecting with one another, and then that can be displayed in our And at the same time, we're kind of bringing awareness to the fact that, our world is we're always creating things in our world, and are we caretakers of our world, to
Mm-hmm.
best take care of the earth, so we can live in a harmonious relationship with the earth as long as possible. And so I think a lot of autistic kids love nature. They want to be in nature. They don't want to wear shoes. They have an affinity for water. I mean, we know this, that autism and most kids, they want to be outside and enjoying it. And so I think, yeah, anything that kind of takes care of nature is right in line with what autism is here also to kind of teach and and to challenge. So, and I want the autistic individuals who come to express themselves and to say, I want to create this. I
Yeah.
want to, here's my idea, and what do you need? Let's do it. And really I would love to give an outlet for some artists to really rise up and, to find their niche in the art industry
Mm-hmm.
through their starting off in my studio and having that opportunity to really work on their own art skills in a very safe, supportive environment that's just going to celebrate who they are. So yeah, it's still kind of in a flux. I don't even, it's going to be opening this spring. I'm not even sure all what's going to happen. So,
Yeah.
but it's exciting to have these goals and to have the intentions that feel really good.
Yeah.
So behind getting families together, connectivity in there, and repurposing stuff and opening up, letting the kids know it's their place to create.
Yeah. I'm excited too. I hope that I get to show you the Earthship community up in Taos, which I think is a neat blending of some of that, like brings nature inside of a house, and hopefully maybe there's
Yeah,
ways we can over time incorporate some of that idea into your studio and your home, or however it
well,
works.
I would love
Yeah.
to build an Earthship on
Yeah.
my property eventually. So as
Yeah.
a place that them can help run and
Mm-hmm.
do tours, rent out or whatever. So
Yeah.
yep, definitely some big dreams. Um, and I think what it really comes full circle down to is contribution,
Mm-hmm.
and that I want my son to be part of the world. And if the world doesn't have a place for him right now, then we will create that place, and
Mm-hmm.
the world can come to us in a way, if we can't go to the world in some aspects, we will create an awesome heaven on earth for people to come and enjoy.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I think the best things, I mean, maybe it's not for everybody, but I think if more people invented their own way, really followed their own, created a life that matches their own individuality, that I just think the world's going to keep getting more and more beautiful. Yeah.
I agree. And I think I see so many examples of
Yeah, I do too.
going in that direction,
Yeah.
which encourage me.
Yeah,
So
I do too.
definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you and I have talked a lot about a lot of those ideas. So I just see it as I've been interviewing people for this podcast. It's interesting to me how so far everybody has their version of building community, building unity, bringing their own unique gifts and experiences into developing a future that's more unified and more peaceful, and we're all on the same page in that regard. It's neat to me.
Yep, we've all shifted up to that level of where community is important.
Yeah.
We see that, and then there's so many eclectic ways to create community, and if there was only one way, we would miss out on all the beautiful tapestry of the human species.
Yeah, I so agree. So I have a rapid fire question round, but before I do that, I want to ask you if there's anything else that you want to share, talk about.
I think that covered a lot. So.
I do too. I want to mention again your book that I know you just finished and published, and I'm looking forward to getting my copies in hand for the holiday season. So do you want to tell us anything more about that, or you want to talk about that in a future interview? I'm happy to do both or either.
I'll just touch on the fact that I really didn't do a lot of artwork or much drawing since my childhood. But when I moved to Wisconsin and I was just processing a lot of emotions, these kind of I call it heart work, kind of came to me and really encouraged me. And I had felt like it was a gift from the universe. We've talked about channeling experiences. In a way, it was just opening myself up to um, other belief systems and other dimensions, possibly. And I felt like um, these truths that came to me about how we work in the world, how our infinite and finite self kind of dances and explores life in a very fun, playful way, without right or wrong, all that stuff. I
Yeah.
created a meditation book basically from the experience that I experienced by doing this art and how it affected me. The first line of my book is, "This book wrote me over 5 months,"
Mm-hmm.
and that's what it was, such an interactive experience. And I really feel, and I call it conscious community, like it is really this seed I want to plant for communities like I want to create for my son to live in,
Mm-hmm.
whether my property or anywhere else where, kids who need a lot of support will have it and will be in touch with nature and will, be part of a community, not be secluded or isolated. But I think conscious community is like the seed that first needs to be planted in order for these communities to grow. So yes, I'd love everyone to get the Kindle or the paperback version, which is available on Amazon.
Cool.
It's called Heartwork Meditations on Conscious Community.
Nice. Very nice. All right. Anything else you want to touch on before I give you some fun questions?
You can fire away.
All right. Well, first of all, not necessarily rapid, but fun. If you were a hat, what kind of hat would you be? And why?
Oh, a Dr. Seuss hat, because my
Nice.
son loves Dr. Seuss.
Nice. Cat in the Hat version, or just
Sure.
some other
The
Seussish hat?
It would make him giggle and he would steal it from me. So yes.
Cool. Cool. All right. Let's see, some rapid fire. Crunchy or smooth peanut butter?
Always smooth.
Always smooth. Nice. Dogs or cats?
Oh, cats. Come on.
Cats.
I love furry people.
What's your favorite color or your favorite color combination?
Well, I'm really into this light blue, yellow kind of thing I got going on in my book with my Blaze and Orion light figures. And then this kind of came to me that blue and yellow together, they don't make green, they make a nice violet purple. So that's also my color scheme of my studio and some of the colors that come to me.
Nice. Yeah, like some pastels. I've noticed, huh? New York or New Jersey?
California.
California, yeah. And if you had one superpower, what would that be?
Oh, I remember sharing this with my friend. Teleportation. I could snap my fingers and be in the spot of visiting anyone around the world that I love so much and that seems to live so far away.
Nice. So then what would your superhero name be?
Wow. Always there, Autumn.
Always there, Autumn. I love it. That's awesome. Awesome, Autumn. Always there, Autumn. I think this has been a great interview. I thank you very much for joining me, giving me your time. I hope that our audio works out, and I hope that whether it does or doesn't, that we can continue this conversation and expand on it in the future. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you for all you do.
thank you. And yeah, we'll be talking soon, I'm sure. That wraps up today's episode of the Authentic Action Podcast and my interview with Autumn Manzo. You can find out more about Autumn, Liam, and their work at Thriving Heart Studio by going to www.thrivingheartconnections.net. You can also find her book on Amazon and purchase it in paperback or on Kindle. Her author page and book will come up on Amazon if you search for her name, Autumn Manzo. That's Manzo. I hope you've been inspired by her story of appreciation and acceptance and how she's taken the initiative to build the community that she wants for herself and for her family. I appreciate your attention and I welcome your questions, comments, and suggestions. You can contact me through most social media platforms. You can purchase my books and music on Amazon, and you can find my courses and artwork and information about my current projects at www.angellily.com. That's with 4 L's. You can also learn more about the Authentic Action School online at www.authenticactionschool.com. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to play every day. Ciao for now.